I couldn't agree more. And there's a lot of guys too, even the ECHL, especially SPHL, guys that have been playing a long time where, believe it or not, they genuinely hate hockey. And I don't think they actually hate hockey. I think they hate the business side of professional hockey, the day in, day out of management. And it's not even about playing the game at that level anymore. It's just about, dealing with the BS and how much you can put up with. But these guys hate hockey, but they continue doing it because they, finished junior, went right in the pro. They don't have a university or college education. They don't know how to do anything else. They've been told their entire life from the Bantam draft at 14 till now, you're going to be a pro hockey player. So in their minds, they're saying, well, I might as well just keep playing until I can't play no more. Or whenever the wife tells me it's time to pull the plug. And I think that's why also like a lot of guys do end up quitting earlier than maybe they would like if they're on that path, just because, you play college hockey, you put yourself in debt going NCAA or whatever. If you end up playing junior A in Canada, get your free U Sport education, which is great. And so you do that, you come out debt free, or in the US, you go into a lot of debt. And you go into pro hockey, you're making 125, you're making 250 a week, you're not making a lot of cash, but then you start realizing slowly, I'm not getting ahead in life. I'm still playing pro, but I'm not making pro money. Though the missus is on me that maybe it's time to start life, kind of, get a little bit more serious. And it's difficult to do that when you're gone for 8 months out of the year. You're back for 4. You're bouncing around. You don't know where you're going to go. And you're not really building towards anything when she wants to, settle down and whatnot. So it's interesting. Pro hockey is a job, but it's a job unlike anything else on the planet. No doubt about it.
Well, speaking of getting older and making sure priorities are set, I would like to mention that Sheath Underwear, our amazing sponsor here on the Slang and the Biscuit podcast. Can I make a personal request? I need another set, and the reason why is because my wife is starting to give me the gear saying, hey, I'm not seeing your underwear in the wash enough. And I'm like, well, the beauty part about this underwear is that I can, wear it during the day. Everything's separated. It's good. It's clean. I can wear it to bed and then get away with half a day of it the next day because everything is separated and everything's fine down there and it's breathable and it's bamboo and I feel like it's kind of a part of me. She's like, your underwear needs to go in the laundry once a day. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. I understand that. But these things are amazing. And as long as I'm making sure that everything is compartmentalized, I'm good.
Absolutely. And if Sheath underwear was Ric Flair, it would be the Ric Flair of underwear. That was a terrible breakdown. But anyway.
If your penis could be Ric Flair, it would go, woo, when it's wearing Sheath underwear. Is that fair?
And when it's in the underwear, it would say, I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down.
Wrinkly skin underwear on both sides.
So Sheath Underwear is the presenting sponsor for this podcast, believe it or not. We do have sponsors, especially after that terrible ad transition. But so presented by Sheath Underwear. Sheath Underwear is game-changing. We're going to tell you why. The team at Sheath have engineered the dual pouch technology. Now, the dual pouch is a segregated and separated compartment to have your biscuit put comfortably into your basket so nothing is touching. So if you're a dude, you're working construction, maybe you're out there pouring some concrete while you're listening to the podcast right now, there's a very good chance your twig and your biscuits are stuck to the side of your leg. Sheath doesn't allow that to happen. You have to put your biscuit into the basket, if you get what I'm saying, but then everything is compartmentalized, so nothing is touching, nothing is sticking, everything is where it needs to be, and it breathes incredibly. And like Dave said, if you put your twig and your biscuits into a pair of Sheath underwear, it will go woo, and it will turn you into the limousine riding.
It'll go what?
Woo!
That's the one.
And you will become the limousine riding, Rolex wearing, jet flying son of a gun. And you can do that by going to sheathunderwear.com. You got to use the code BISCUIT69. That is BIZKIT 69. It's going to get you 20% off the best underwear money can buy. Only at sheathunderwear.com. There's a link in the video description on the YouTube version if you're watching the video version of the podcast, or on the podcast notes on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcast. And thank you to Sheath, as always, for being our amazing presenting sponsor for this podcast.
For the record, Sheath, I don't know if you know this or not, but it's actually the exact definition is a cover of the blade, the cover for the blade of a knife or a sword. So there you go. You want to keep it sharp? You want to keep it sharp? Put it in a sheath.
The razor's edge. Speaking of razor's edge, there was I love this kind of stuff because so some Fed stuff, some Fed fights. This is what we all come to the podcast for. Now, Forrest Gump once said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. When he said box of chocolates, he meant to say the FPHL and the Fed Zeno, because there's a clip that was going around the other night. In Columbus, Georgia, shout out Michael Greco, Canadian boy playing for the Columbus River Dragons. I think he got kicked out of the game. He's walking off one of the fans says something to him, and then you see him turn around and do a mad dash to this fan, and he's getting up in his face. He's going to like bash him in the head with his stick and take his head off, and then security comes in and removes him, and obviously he ends up getting escorted away, and the fan kind of scurries back into his hole. And I just thought to myself, like, if there was ever a league where a player-fan fight was going to happen, it's going to be the Fed. Like, for example, there's, I don't know how many arenas, like Port Huron, Carolina, I believe as well, and to an extent Columbus, where the players come out of the same entrance. They're side by side. They are within spitting distance. So if you're going to have a fight between the players, they come out right near the fans. There's always, being engaged with the fans. You're going to have it in the Fed. And if I could make a request, if there was a Fed fight, to see a fan get beat up with his own shoe, like Mike Milbury style, maybe in Danbury, Connecticut, that would be amazing.
Well, listen, you're exactly right. The NHL went through some dark days, and if you've never seen the video of Mike Milbury climbing the stands and beating a fan with their own shoe, I mean, it's something right out of Slapshot. This guy, no, and when someone threw a set of keys at one of the players and hit him, like, you hit him in the freaking eye. The NHL has taken precautions. There was a day and age where there was no glass behind the bench and the fans, and I am all for. Believe me when I tell you, I have had my fair share of dust-ups with fans when I'm sitting in the penalty box or coming off the ice or whatever. The fans 100% can say whatever they want to the player. It's just chirping. It's talking. They're allowed. They paid the price of admission. Go ahead and scream and yell all you want. That I'm fine with that. But the second you get physical, well, you've now encroached on that invisible line, and all bets are off.
Agreed. Actually, to bring that back, funny story. My girlfriend Victoria, God bless her, shout out to her dad Jay. Listens to the podcast every week. Listened last week as well. But so Victoria was moving out of her last apartment.
We talked about this. He's vetting you.
So far, so good. But 3 weeks ago, when Victoria was moving out of her apartment, she's trying to get her damage deposit back, and she calls me and she says, I'm having a hard time getting my damage deposit back. The landlord is saying some mean things about me, and I said, listen, honey, for $600, you can call me whatever you want. You can call me every name in the book for $600. Deal. And to bring that back to the Fed, if somebody's paying, in Motor City, where our general admission price is $17 for a ticket, if you're paying $17, you are entitled to say whatever you want to me. You have paid, like Dave said, you pay the price of admission. My job is to perform. If we're in Watertown, where maybe the tickets are a little bit cheaper, and maybe beer's a little bit cheaper, and people can get a little bit more lubricated, $10, and you're gonna probably say a little bit more stuff to me. You're entitled to do that. You paid the price of admission.
And you know what? There's really easy chirps I remember sending back. I'd get put in the penalty box, and there'd be guys that are leaning. I mean, we're talking in like oil cities like Bonneville and Lloydminster and areas like that, where they're leaning over the glass, and kind of like that old Ty Domi clip, but didn't go to that extent. But leaning over the glass, chirping, 2-8, you're this, you're that, whatever. And I was like, hey, bring down your lunchbox and I'll sign it for you. Or little things like, hey, how much did you pay to come in and watch me play? Things like that. I mean, I enjoy that. That is fun to me. That gives them an experience where they get to go home and go, you wouldn't believe I was chirping one of the players and it was so much fun. As long as it doesn't get to fisticuffs. And I have seen that happen too, and I've never been a proponent of that. I actually watched one of my old former teammates. Can we mention names? It's like 25 years old. Okay. Chad Bork, tough as nails guy. I've seen this guy fight more than I'd like to admit. Got kicked out of a game in Wetaskiwin, Alberta. And he got kicked out of a game. And this is what I'm talking about, that invisible barrier now. He's no longer on the ice. He's in the stands now. And some guy who had too many libations decided to start chirping him a little bit. They both start standing up. The one older guy, and keep in mind he's 18 years old, takes a swipe at him. And my boy Chad, who's no stranger to throwing the knuckles, leans back and pops this guy. Turns out he's an off-duty cop. And now we're in a whole different set of issues. But like I said, I'm okay with chirping, on either side of the glass. It's like being at the zoo and making fun of the lion. The second that lion comes out, you're like, hi, lion. Hi. Everything's good. I saw Lion King. Simba's cool.
I thought cops were supposed to be chill. I thought cops weren't supposed to be yelling and chirping at hockey games when they're off duty.
I love my boys in blue. I am one of the first ones to come to the table and say I support you guys. But listen, we all have our dark moments.
I like to picture he goes and pops the cop, and the cop just pulls the taser out, and boom, and it's right on the ice. Just
that way. Luckily, this was before the days of tasers. I'm that old.
There was another moment in the Fed too. There was so there's no video of this, but this was going around that in Delaware. Shout out to the Delaware Thunder in beautiful Harrington, Delaware, right, Dave?
Yeah, it's on my tops of my list when it comes to visiting. Hello, we're in Delaware.
That sums it up beautifully. Also, shout out to my boy John Armentides. He just left Delaware and he's with the Watertown Wolves in Watertown, New York. He's thriving. He's happy. So shout out to you, buddy. I miss you. But anyway, so in Delaware, one of the players, we're not going to mention names just because, but one of the players gets into a fist fight with the head coach in between periods, and so whatever's happened, Delaware's losing because they've only at this point in time recording the podcast, they've only won one game all season. They get into a fist fight. The next day, they trade the guy who was fighting the coach to Carolina. And imagine how the guy in Carolina felt who got sent over to Delaware. That's tough.
About what?
Which aspect?
What were they fighting about?
I'd like to imagine. Now, I'm assuming here. I don't have the facts based. I couldn't find any. But I'm assuming games going not the way they want. They've only won one game this season. You get a little bit frustrated with the coach. Coach is frustrated with the players. Somebody says something. Somebody doesn't like it. Turns into a little bit of a shouting match. And then, obviously, as we talked about a couple episodes ago, hockey is full of alpha male mentalities. And a couple guys want to go at it. And then, boom, coach and the player go at it. Traded them the next day to Carolina.
That I understand. I get that. Listen, I grew up in the era of watching players get thrown over massage tables in between periods. And I understand there was a time where I was working in the American League where there was a point where some of these guys were making more money than the coaches, and they thought, why would I listen to this guy? I'm making more money than him. They're here to see me, not him. Sure, run me through drills and whatnot, but I'll dictate how I play. Just send me out when you want to send me out. And the money thing has always been a bit of an issue when it comes to player versus coach, but there still has to be a hierarchy. And at the same time, I'm not putting any onus on totally on the player, but the coach has to recognize too that there are times when you can lace into a player and times where you can't.
Well, it's people management. You have to learn as a coach and as a GM, as as a goalie coach, whatever your position is in management, that you have X amount of players. You have to pull certain strings to get certain results out of them. Some guys handle very well being yelled and screamed at. Other guys need a little bit more encouragement, a little bit more soft spoken. Everybody has a different formula to get that result out of them. And as your coach, as the coach, it's the job to figure out how to do that. Some guys can do it. Some guys don't do it.
Well, we're in a day and age, and even my program director, who is like my boss at the radio station, says, I treat you differently than I treat this person, than I treat that person, than I treat that person. And that's the dance you do as a manager in any industry right now, is that you don't just blanket manage everybody the same way to get the best out of all of them.
Hey, if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button. We do a new podcast every single Sunday during the season called Slinging the Biscuit. It is a non-mainstream hockey podcast, so we talk about my hockey career, the minor pros, Spain, the Fed, you name it, all the stuff that you won't hear in the mainstream news.
Music,
Pop culture.
politics, a little bit.
Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you soon.